So I think my time in rave has been the biggest influence on my life, to the person that I am now and the person that I see I'm going to be in the future. Would I have thought that when I started? Absolutely not. That's not what I was thinking about. You know, where's this scene going to take me? What's it going to be? I think when I started 16, 17, you're at an age where you want to belong to something. You don't know what it is, it kind of finds you or you find it. Rave was what I found, or it found me, or however you want to put it. But it was never the big things, it was always the small things, the people I met, the hugs you used to get, going back to somebody's flat with a group of you, getting the tunes on, having a cup of tea, borrowing somebody's sweatshirt and not returning it. And they're the things that I remember, rather than the big events or the big things. It was I remember a lot of Ford Fiestas. Yeah, I do.
I was never really into commercial music, even from an early age. My old man was a drummer, and so I've always been into music anyway, and he played a lot of rhythm and blues. You know, it was, listen to this. We were into different styles of music back then. It was a lot of reggae, a lot of, reggae, a lot of funk, bit of jazz.
I got exposed at music at a very, very young age. I remember walking into my front room and there was this big old, I didn't know at the time it was a record player. It was just a big old thing. And I was like, what's that, Mum? I was like, how's that do that? Where's that music coming from? You know what I mean? It was that beauty. That was my first experience of music, hearing it. Ever since then, I was fascinated.
One of the friends went, I think he went to something like Escapism and come back with this track by Herbie Hancock, Rocket, and started doing all these sort of robotic moves and stuff. And so, yeah, that was a track that come along that kind of, we thought, what's this? And then, obviously, from that, you had the electro scene.
So I was a breakdancer. We used to do the local venues around Leicester, any little street corners. I remember breakdancing Clock Tower, taking out linos and breakdancing in the city centre. It gave us a sense of meeting different people, because back then, in the 80s, it was a lot of division, you know what I mean? A lot of social division, but breakdancing kind of gave us a community spirit, because we met people from Beaumont Leys, New Parks.
You'd go to the record shop, Revolver Records at the time, and you would be, it's a social event. You'd have crowds of sort of teenagers and stuff down the counter, all sort of trying to get their hands on the latest tracks that had been imported from America.
That was a godsend, that was, and I remember jostling for first position. We've only got 3 of these at the front with a classic groove control, Derek, Paul, all the old school gang there, bless them all.
My first residency in Leicester was at a place called the Fishing Court down Churchgate. I was playing quite a bit of reggae, soul, and I think the word went round that there was this little fat bloke playing all this credible music, and people started to appear for the music. I started to meet people who were already on the house scene and stuff, the early birth of house music, and one particular group of people called Classic Groove Control. They used to go to events like All Dayers at Rock City and stuff, soul and funk all dayers. And they'd come back and do all the dances in our venue, so it got everybody involved, and we had a little scene going. I don't think we realised it at the time, and then they mixed their music in. And then I remember Derek Inman, to this day, I remember him saying, oh, this is a new music, this is called house music. So this place that's now a car park was, I first was aware of it when a friend of mine was on a committee trying to get this place up and running called Spectrum. So they started playing house here, and that was instrumental in Leicester becoming a big part of the early house scene. And then I came to a few of their parties here, and it's fantastic. Full-blown sound system playing sort of proper US soul, funk, electro. It was fantastic here.
It's well documented that crews from, or sound systems from London, such as the Shock Sound system, who did a lot with Soul to Soul, who are just an enormous name in UK sort of urban street culture and rave culture, and certainly acid house culture, used to come up to Leicester to see Classic Groove, because such was the impact of what Classic Groove was doing at the time. They were doing so much in taking house sounds, Chicago house sounds. These crews used to come and watch Classic Groove to take that away and to put that into the UK warehouse scene.
We're telling you about gigantic outdoor raves happening across the region almost every weekend. Sometimes they ended in confrontations with the police after residents complained of deafening music in the small hours of the morning.
So I think it must have been around 88 to 89, when I was probably more sort of on the age of 17. And I had a boyfriend at the time, and we're in his bedroom, and he had a tape player, and he said, "You've got to listen to this," or we put it on, and we listened to it, and I can remember distinctly hearing it and not hearing anything like it before. Like I can almost, when I'm talking about it, I can even now get a bit goosebumpy.
I left school in 88, sort of bang into the house and dance sort of stuff. And I was aware of all these legal parties that were happening, reading the newspapers, these big sunrise events, police trying to shut things down, you know, stuff like that. And I just wanted to go to one. It was like it was an advert to go to one, if you know what I mean. I've got to get to one, they're not dangerous, you know. I've got to be, that's where it's all at, you know. And the stuff I was into, music, fashion, white jeans, you know, baggy jeans, white tops and stuff like that, and Timberland boots and stuff. So I was kind of, but you sort of didn't know how to get to one. You know, you're some Saffron Lane, you don't know, how do I get to Sunrise or Biology or something like that. But then, just by going to record shops uptown and start to meet people, seeing flyers. And then the Bear Cage is one for me, the Bear Cage in Leicester. That was kind of, because when you find out where they're playing this stuff, you hear from kind of word of mouth really. And you did. The Bear Cage playing acid house, that's all playing house music. And
I remember going to the tavern in the town, and I was 16, and the Bohemian, and we couldn't get in. And one of the lads said, "Have you seen that bar called Helsinki? It's round, you know, it's down there. Da, da, da. You know what? You want to see the people that go in there? People sitting in the window, you know, dressed all differently to the town. He's in town, you know." I remember going in there was a proper eye-opener.
there was a night called Bliss, which was at Street Life, which for me was everything. It was every last Thursday of the month. Quite a cliquey thing to get into, if I recall. I remember going home, getting changed once to come back because the doorman didn't let me in. You know, it was quite difficult to get in there, I remember right there. But once you was in there, that just changed me so much, that did. The club was like a street as well. It had the bus stop, had road markings. And to me, it was like, I don't know, just an amazing place. You were just transported into another world, you know. And it was just people together on the dance floor, do you know what I mean? Wanting the same thing. And craving the same thing, you know.
I also went to lots of warehouse raves in Leicester. I can't tell you where they were or the nights they were called. We'd all pitch up in a car, you'd get out and you'd be in a warehouse in Leicester, and that was it. That's what would happen. It was very free.
I mean, I remember going to Amnesia House one time. It's my first big rave I went to. Me and my partner, Idris Assam. That was my first blow my mind experience at a rave. And I remember going there and I seen two hooligans that were fighting in the daytime at football from different cities, wanted to fight each other, and they're hugging each other. I'm like, what's that all about? And someone explained to me, oh, they've had an E, da 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 da, it's the love, and da 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 da. And I was like, I want to be part of that. You know, if that can, because at the time when hooliganism was controlling the UK, if that can break that barrier, I wanted to be part of it. And that's when everything changed for me.
I mean, back at the time, it was just life, wasn't it? You didn't really, you were that young as well. It was just all experiences, and you just took it for granted what was happening. You didn't really have the chance or the experience to reminisce like you can now. But yeah, looking back now, it was magical, really. It wasn't just the rave side of it. We'd all meet up, go down the park, and you'd have your Walkmans with you. You'd all be listening to the tapes. So all the new tapes, everyone would come with a different copy of something that they just heard, and then that would lead on to you going, right, let's go to a night out.
Let's shut the fucking exits and keep the sound in. Shut the exits and let's get this place kicking. Come on, shut them fucking exits over there now. Gotta keep the fucking sound in here. We'll get in trouble. Shut them exits over there now.
Tapes would go around like a fake Mona Lisa. They'd be like, you'd literally have there were some great Amnesia tapes. The one where they shut the exit doors, get the rave stopped was a massive Sky Blue. I went Sky Blue once, not on that night, but there was, it was that rawness was the beauty of it, and it's dangerous kind of sound. You get the rave stopped, shut the doors, the police would come in, all this sort of stuff.
In particular, there's one that sticks out in my mind the most, and I had this cassette, and it was of an Amnesia House rave that had taken place. And I remember the guy at the start of the cassette, and he was like, first we had 3 hours, then they took it down to 2 hours, now we're down to an hour. What we gonna do? Amnesia, we're gonna take the effing roof off the place. And you just hear the crowd going wild. And I just remember being there in my mum's sitting room and listening to it, and I'd just be shocking out hard. I want you, I want you, I want you forever.
Back then, you had to work your mix. That's why no mixes were ever perfect, because you had to work it. You couldn't let go of the record. You had to keep it in time. And also you're fighting with every element that could possibly be that would make your set bad. Crowds jumping, the setup being wrong, the needles being full of dust, the needles being crap, the mixer clicking. There's so many elements that you had to take into consideration when you were mixing back then. Now, it's solid. You just press a button, it's synced up, boom, go, play. Back then you didn't have any of that. And to hear a set like these sets that we're talking about, that are nearly perfect, it's hard work to do that. And obviously you try and get the best tape to record that set on. There was TDK DA60 or something, chrome tapes, and you'd buy the best tape that you could to record this set onto. But then obviously you've got no sleeve. So the ideal thing would be is to get a flyer, try and cut it into some kind of visual sort of nicety that would go on the tape cover, and you'd make your own tape from that rave with the flyer on it, which was the best. And if you got all the tapes from that night of the rave, 6 of them, whatever, every set, all lined up with the flyers, all cut the same way with the name, and if you nicked that many flyers, you could cut out all the names from the flyer as well, stick them down the spine, and have the same bit of the flyer on the front of the tape, and then you'd have your own tape pack collection of that night. That was what you wanted. That was the ultimate dream.
Welcome back. The highlight of the artistic side, the dance competition featuring Buick and Whittaker, that's still to come. Now we're going to press the accelerator a little and turn to speed skating. So off we go, and there could be some trouble at the first bend. Historically, there is.
It's a skating rink. You couldn't get venues like that. And we had to put in the sound, the security. We had to think like businessmen then. You weren't just turn up a venue and just playing some music. We had to think, we had to put on the whole thing, get licenses. We put on that Rave, and that was the game changer for Leicester. Nemesis 90, for a rave perspective.
There was a tale of folklore that if you go to Grandby Halls, where Nemesis raves were held, one of the side doors used to be periodically opened, where bouncers used to nip out and have breaks when they shouldn't be having breaks, so like a cigarette break or something like that. And if you timed it right, you could get in through these side doors and into the rave. we waited for an opportunity, and lo and behold, the doors swung open, and there's two big bouncers, and huge guys to wear, and they're having a cigarette and a chat, and lo and behold, the door's cleared, they're left open, and there's our opportunity. And we ducked in and went for it. And after quickly finding a way around the perimeter of the outside of where the old sort of skate area used to be, we found, we could hear the sounds from a mile off, and it was just, you know, it was, the adrenaline was going, it was just, oh my God, you know, this is it, this is it.
Getting into Nemesis 90, because I used to work there at Grandby Halls. I worked there the year before, so I know it inside out. It was on the kind of roller skating rink. There were no queues in 1990. We just walked straight in, get stamped on your hand type thing, the usual stuff. And as I walked in, you know, tracks were playing, there was a bouncy castle.
And then as people were leaving the room to go into other areas, like maybe to the chill out room or, you know, to get water from the bar or something, they were dancing on the way. That's one thing that sticks in the mind. People didn't stop dancing and walk off. They danced off, carried on dancing. And I said to my friend, wow, this is different.
But I remember standing there and watching the strobes and the lasers and listening to the bass and listening to the music, and I think the track was playing. It was certainly one of the first tracks that was playing. It was Jazz 303 by Joey Beltram. And it's a tune that I sort of used to term and called the Rhythm Rider, because it has a really sort of robbing bass line. You know, always remember it. And so these people going mad to these songs and just going absolutely berserk, and it's exactly how you pictured it. It's exactly what was on the tape from Park and Pickering in the background when Shock the Beat by Electric Shock drops. All these people going nuts, and all these people are doing the same things, and it's like that point where you think, oh my God, you know, everything has changed. After that first taste, you know, you desperately wanted more. You never wanted to go back to sort of your old life after that. It was like, this is the way forward, this is what it is that I want to do, this is what I want to be involved in.
The Blue Army! Make some noise!
We started doing our raves Total Kaos way back then. That was probably, Formation was the brand, but Total Kaos was the kind of rave brand. I think our first raves, we were doing them at Joker's. We couldn't get no weekends. We got a Tuesday nights. I remember booking Carl Cox on a Tuesday night. I was like, whoa. I remember they saying, you can't fill it on a Tuesday. I said, all right, we'll just try it. It was packed every Tuesday night. Joker's nightclub, Carl Cox, Slip Mac, Sasha. It was insane. We got offered Starlight. We did a couple of events there, and Mr. B was really good to us back in the day because it was a big venue and we couldn't get access to venues. And he said, oh, you can take Saturday nights. And I was like, what? Every Saturday, 850 people queue every week, without fail, rammed.
I mean, at the time, I think we all realised it, the Leicester, and I think other ravers did around the country, that Leicester was, you know, big places with a lot going on. At one point, I'd say we were pretty central. We had Total Kaos going on. There was I can't remember the bloody names now, but there was several things. We had rain dance. There was some housey things going on.
Starlight 2001 by Kaos was as well. That was definitely like, I mean, I'd never seen queues like it ever. Week after week, every week it was on, and there was a queue of at least 100 strong before it even opened.
This just became like the hotbed then. This was the hotbed for the big nights. I mean, those queues all down the road now, do you know what I mean? All around the corner. And the place itself was a beautiful sort of old regal type building as well with a balcony. I remember that's just come back to me now how big the place was.
Big balcony, big stage.
Yeah, big stage, you know. And it
big
just
stage for the PAs
like
and
a
stuff, yeah.
super club
decks up on the balcony
thing.
at the back.
Yeah.
I loved Total Kaos. I love the old ethic, the old vibe, the old togetherness. And I was old, by now I was older, you know, side by side with other rave people. I'd be sort of 31, 32 now, and your ravers were 18, 19, but it didn't feel out of place. It still felt like family, and there was a proper connected family vibe.
Back in the day,
I think we did change a lot of lives. I think we gave people a purpose because we gave people a weekend to look forward to, and it brought people together.
But I think the Leicester thing, it bled out, it seeped out into the rest of the Midlands.
I remember going to a rave called Raw, it was in Birmingham, legal party type thing, you know, so you go to Pat, Westwood Clothing, get your ticket, you get told to meet in Helsinki, 9:30, 10 it was. I remember that day, I went to Helsinki at tea time just to make sure I got in. 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock, people were coming in, you know, and everyone was all waiting for Pat to come in, who was, you know, the key directions of where to go to, and it was building that people couldn't get in. It was like, the street was ravers everywhere, you know, it was really, I remember the energy felt amazing, beautiful. Still feel it now, gorgeous. I think Pat then just called the shots, right, you know, we're all off, you know where you go into, it's so service station. And that's what it was like, you know, you're on the convoy and you get going.
When you feel that you belong to something and it's yours, even if you could be walking into an environment, and like you say, going in a car, pitching up somewhere that you don't know, you could feel, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I think that community, and that's something that is so close to me all the time, that word community and belonging. And the rave scene, it felt like it was ours, it belonged to us. Even it could have been anywhere, and you felt like, well, this is my thing, this is mine, this is my music. I love what that person's wearing. I'm going to fall in love with that person probably in about 15 minutes. I love this environment. I genuinely loved it. So I didn't feel unsafe.
I think we got lost at one point, and you picked some strangers up from Birmingham in the back of some other ravers, and they know where it is. They took us there. But we weren't scared of hitchhikers then. You just looked like white jeans and naffing off sweatshirts. So come on, get in the back, you know.
Once you kind of went out and you were going to rave and it was about the dance and the people, wearing a massive oversized t-shirt, really short shorts, trainers, that for me, it just made sense on every level.
You look down the street and you could tell who was the raver, who wasn't a raver, just by the jeans you had on. I think the jeans were like a code, you know.
The clothes were pretty bad, man. Everyone was big. Just had to have the biggest clothes ever. Baggy t-shirts, baggy jeans, and flares, Joseph's. Another shop from Leicester. You used to try and buy the biggest flares you could buy. And tracksuit bottoms with paisley, a lot of paisley as well. Paisley stripes down the arms, paisley stripes down the legs, full paisley tops.
You just wanted to look colourful, loose, and it was kind of, because you've sort of, a lot of guys, you think in the world at that stage of time would not wear like pink tops and bleached jeans and purple shoes and stuff like that, but we did. It kind of, even though you like your fashion anyway, you just had that nice, relaxing feel about it, and you weren't scared to wear bright, bold colours anymore. You know what I mean? Where just rewind a year, you were still being quite conservative with your jeans and your sweatshirts and your hoodies, and you went uptown in a white shirt. You still be, you know, you play along the line. You know, you kind of toe the line, but there was just such a niceness about the fashion and the colours, and comfortable as well. I think the rave clothes, they were comfortable. I guess they had to be. You know, you're dancing and sweating for 8-10 hours. You know, you had to have a workout kind of outfit. I thought. You look at the clothing,
and I loved that me and the girls and the lads, you could swap clothes. Hence, like, you'd all wear jumpers. You'd go to a shop, and you didn't have the girls section and the lads section. You had a section of the nicest t-shirts or jumpers, or that's what it was. It wasn't divided.
I remember seeing sort of lads wearing sort of lycra shorts, things that you'd only ever see on sort of females at the time. You'd think, you know, that guy's wearing sort of lycra shorts, you know, what's that about? But it looks good.
I remember walking down the street, Saffron Lane, you know, and I got 20-inch flares on, you know what I mean? I got a white top on with an eye in the middle, and I'm going on the bus on a Thursday night to Bliss. You know, and on the bus they're going, where's this kid, you know, where am I going? But then as soon as you get into town, you get to your place, you literally grow 10 foot tall, you know, you're happy. But it's like a code, but I think it was just more than just a code. It was, you wanted to dress like that. You wanted to be the raver.
And in Leicester you had well, it's still there actually, but Silver Arcade. And it was in the different kind of zones. You'd have like some of the shoe shops on the bottom, like Tin Fish, which is still going. Then you'd have Well Gosh at the top, which was more like the skates, Stussy wear, more like streetwear, I suppose.
The Silver Arcade movement was brilliant. You know what I mean? All the flyers, because art, clothing, music are all connected in one space.
And Welgosh was kind of like this strange epicentre of sort of like Leicester sort of dance culture, because not only did you have all these amazing clothes in there, but also there used to be a guy worked there called Master Safe. And Master Safe was this sort of local DJ that used to play at the raves. And so you see this guy DJing in front of you, and then the next thing he's serving you like a £30 Stussy t-shirt saying hello to you, and it's kind of like, wow, how is this happening? You know, this guy's a legend and he's serving me a t-shirt, you know?
I was selling my mixtapes from there, and we had Sneakers, which was Leroy and Idris SS, Sneakers Records, record shop, a floor below.
The place was tiny and it was often busy, so you just stood around till a tune came on you like, you put your hand up, and the chap behind the counter made a pile. There were often 3 chaps behind the counter. They make a pile, that's your pile, that's his pile, that's his pile.
And then it became so popular in there, I think we're in there about a year, and the rave scene was going silly now, it was really taking off, and Idris and Leroy were on about doing Nemesis 1991. So they needed a bigger place. So the 5HQ, the Formation 5, I think they're always called Formation in the background, the record label. But the 5HQ, they needed a bigger premises, so they went to Charles Street.
Because we had the base, because everyone used to come, it was the information centre. Flyers, tape packs, records, clothing, anything to do with the raves, we were the base. Everyone used to come in, all walks of life. You know, it was like a nightclub in there on a Saturday afternoon. Oh yeah, it's a family. It was a family. We had OJ on the house store, controlling the house, Master Safe, controlling the rave thing. We had TK controlling the house. We had Black Van and Magic controlling the reggae hip hop. You know, we had Total controlling the garage. You know, we had Glamour was in there for a while. Whitey was in there for a while. Every big DJ worked at that shop at some point.
All the DJs met there. Everyone that was into music was in there. And yeah, you see a lot of everyone that you see at the rave, you see in 5HQ. I mean, all the people. Well, Master Safe was behind the decks there. OJ, I think OJ worked there as well. And yeah, it was all the heads of Leicester. Was all in 5HQ. It was a pinnacle point of the Leicester rave scene, without a doubt.
And again, it was great. They'd have artists down, Top Buzz and several people to come in and do a DJ thing on a Saturday to promote the store or whatever. Or we'd do it, you know, me, OJ and Leroy, we'd put a show on as well occasionally. And I'd be flinging out the tunes. It's like that film, Human Traffic, you know. That's how it was in there. I was throwing out tunes. Who wants this one? Knee deep, 20, 30 people, you know, they're waiting Saturday morning for the boxes to come in.
I remember getting down there. I remember going to work on a Saturday morning, and there's crowds outside, no doubt from a night out from the night before. I'll be honest with you, with the look in their eyes, I think they still were out from the night from before. And they're coming in there, and it was just like, it was just crazy, you know. I remember I was seeing this massive DJ thing now, you know, especially with Master Safe controlling the show, you know, and then Leroy would walk in and it's SS, you know. The atmosphere in there was something else, you know, and obviously from it then was like the hub for your tapes, your clothing, you know, your music. It was more than just, you know, your kids running in for flyers.
Saturday was a big thing. Loads of people in there. It was nearly like a club scene, but it was like auctioning off records. Like he'd play the latest release, because records were getting released left, right and centre. There's so many records being released out there. He'd play the record, there'd be loads of people around the desk, and literally, I'll have one, and it was like an auction of records. It was brilliant. It was a proper record shop. It was an experience that you wouldn't get now, ever. I don't think I've ever experienced it anywhere else.
Always music playing. I always remember walking down the hallway going into 5HQ. It just felt like you came off of this busy Charles Street and then you just walked into this tunnel to another world. That's my imagination and how I would have thought of it, you know. And then you went into 5HQ and it was even more darker than the hallway, and there was just all this, you were just surrounded by music, you know. And if I'd have been brave enough, I probably would have danced in the shop as well.
Not the most obvious home for a radio station, but one of the long list of sites used by the pirates to pump out 8 hours of community programmes each Saturday. This mock setup shows how basic the equipment is. A portable transmitter, wire aerial and cassette machine.
Just going to tell you what's coming up this weekend. Starting on Friday, Starlight comes to Leicester. Starlight 2001 Club.
Pirate Radio, Fresh FM, they asked us to do it till the local DJs. Not just rave DJs, there's reggae on there and Black Vinyl Magic and Schoolboy Phillips and the whole gang, big up fellas, Tappy, big up. Everybody was on there, you know, all the local Leicester radio, there's everything on there, funk, soul, jazz. And there was that sense of, oh, it's a little bit naughty and we shouldn't be doing it as well. We're not supposed to be doing this.
We used to climb the flats and top. I remember going up to one of the top of the flats and going on the very top, putting up an aerial. I shouldn't be saying that. Putting an aerial up on top of the flats just to get signals. It was madness. I didn't know what I was doing, bro.
And I really enjoyed it. And I remember the first meeting we had was somewhere down the motorway, out the way, all secretive and skullduggery. And I like that element of it as well. That was quite, you know, there was a little bit of piracy about it and being a bit, you know. So yeah, it's great. And we often had to shift places. I remember I used to tease is it Department of Trade and Industry, the DTI a bit? And I was a bit, you never catch us. And then my friend Tony, the jazz DJ, bless him, he got caught and they confiscated his records for a whole year, the bastards.
They had a phone. You used to have this massive phone in the studio, and it was a massive like case thing, and it was like, and I'll be honest, it didn't stop ringing, and it was just shout outs to this and shout outs to that, and it was just crazy.
We had to move a few times because we were in tower blocks because of the aerials and the signal and some strange places, but yeah, always good fun. It was a great way to showcase you and evolve and get confident, because I really wasn't confident, as a lot of us weren't confident on the microphone to begin with and things like that. What do you mean I've got to talk? I've got to talk. I can't stand my voice. Have you heard my voice? You know, we'd all be like that.
And one of my favourite things that one of the DJs said ever, apart from giving a shout out, somebody called in for a tune. And I don't know why it stuck with me, and he said, do you know what? I've not got that tune. I haven't even got it. And it just seemed like everyone was all over the place. Nothing was polished. He was like, I haven't got that one with me. I haven't even got it. Because it was just like people like us. It wasn't removed. It wasn't somebody in a studio that was really polished, like, here's this. It was like, it was just so wonderful.
It kind of interconnected, because the record shops and the local DJs would start hooking up. They'd obviously then meet at the local raves and DJ together, and then you swap information, or do you want to come at my do? We're having a do, why don't you guys come over here, and have you heard about Formation? And they go, have you heard about this shop in Nottingham? And we go, oh no, right, we're going out, can we have some of your flyers? Again, it wasn't HMV, it was a little shop called BPM, a little shop called Left Legged Pineapple in Loughborough down the road. It was all these little shops, Sneakers, 5HQ. It wasn't these big companies doing it, these big corporations. It was homegrown.
Right, we're rolling, Commissioner. Ready. Whenever you guys are ready. So remember, we're back in, what year was it? 1994?
94,
yeah. We're good to go.
Me?
Well,
that was fun. We could talk about it.
So it was July 1992, and there was this sort of, I guess, uprising of rave music that had hit the scene. And we were all into the music. We had older friends then in the community as well who were actually going to the raves, but we were all underage at the time, so I would have been 14. And we'd all planned to go to Club Rage because it was under 16s, I believe, at the time. So it would have been me, my cousins, some friends from school. There was males and females all in a big group walking into the city centre. Walked up the high street, and there we were. We arrived at Club Rage, and I just remember entering a small, sort of dark, dingy-looking doorway with a stairwell that went up that was sort of dimly lit, and Going up the stairway, I didn't know in my mind what I was going to meet or how it was going to look or sound or feel, but I just knew that I was really looking forward to the experience. Yeah, I just danced the night away and had the time of my life. I actually had an experience where I danced with an English boy, and we came from Highfields, so it was predominantly black still at that point, or African Caribbean community at that point. So I did get teased on the way home for dancing with an English boy. It didn't only remain there at that one night at Club Rage. I lived the rave scene in my bedroom or in my mother's sitting room through all of the CDs I used to get from 5HQ. I had my bedroom wall plastered in all of the posters of all of the raves that in my mind I was attending through having my own little personal rave at home. So I guess it was like an escapism from the sort of confines of the ghetto experience as well, because obviously Highfields was a very intense place to live at that time, and everybody had their own stuff going on, but going to a rave was like this huge place to escape to, where you could just be whoever you wanted in that moment while you were dancing, and just dance your cares away and let go of all the stresses of whatever life was trying to throw at you.
If you think about the big raves that used to take place in '92, you had the Big Bad Head raves and the Fantasia and the Dreamscape raves that happened in Castle Donington, that happened at Great Dolby Airfield in Melton Mowbray. These are huge. These are all part of rave tapestry.
From Grandby Halls, Donington Park, but we've only got 4 weeks to do it because somebody pulled out. Don't know who it was, somebody pulled out, and we had 4 weeks or 5 weeks. I said, are you mad? He said, Bob, it's only an opportunity. They're giving it us for like $3,000 or something like that. And at that time I was like, whoa, that's a mortgage. But we thought, oh, you know, we've done the maths. And I remember putting on that rave, getting the flyer out, and we was like every day out for solidly for 4.5 weeks. I mean, on a Tuesday night, remember being in Barrow and Furness. We had some ravers going on there. We drove all the way up there on a Tuesday night. I remember coming through some fields. And I'm like, what are we doing here Tuesday? Giving out flyers. And we absolutely murdered everything. And then it paid off, because on the night we got 3,500 people. This place was humongous. Like, even thinking about it now, trying to do Jonathan now would scare me. Never mind 20 years ago, wherever it was. But we put in stages, sounds, productions, and it was like, what are we doing? But we got away with it. And from the money we made from that, we set up 5HQ.
The whole scene was just fantastic. It was full of love. I think it's very underrated. We never got the credit or the kudos. Not that we were looking for it at the time, but from a cultural perspective and from a history of music, particularly of Britain, I feel that we were still very overlooked and underrated for what we did.
Everything about the rave scene to me was freeing, and I still have that in me. I can still sort of bring it out of me. I remember that feeling and how it felt. It's not like something that I did, it's something that I do, that was born out of that scene. It's with me, every part of me, in what I wear, down to my jewellery, down to my clothes, the aesthetics, the things I have in my house. It just flows through sort of seamlessly without sometimes I even think about it, because it's so in me. I
think we've been vastly underestimated, especially when it comes to hardcore drum and bass. Especially, it's not recognised properly in the UK either. It should be credited correctly, because this is something that we've created, kids in their bedrooms, and created a multi-million-pound industry for the world.
I mean, I'm always told I'm a positive person. I don't know, at work and in life, I try to be. But I think the rave scene and the house scene, it made me always think positive. It made me always think not on the bright side of life. You know, I know life happens, I'm only a man myself, but it just taught me to, be positive, you know, be happy. Do you know what I mean? Have a good time. You know, I know it's cliche, I know. And And not just that as well, but how you talk to people, how you respect people, individuals. You know, don't take a book for granted. You know what I mean? Find out about the person, talk to the person, care for the person. I think how I am today in this kind of way, and I get spoken about, people say, you're, you know, a nice guy, this sort of stuff, but that comes from that comes from that experience.
It's always it's still to this day looking for that next track, or someone sending me a track. Someone sent me a track last week, and I'm literally goosebumps, and I still get that at 52.
But it never leaves your heart, and it's just something I'll always do. I'll never stop doing it as long as these fingers and hands work, and I've got a pair of turntables. I will always be a turntablist, and I will always be on these things day and night given a chance.
Even though I feel like I've never left the scene, when I get connected to it again in a different way, whether it's finding the green puffer jacket in a charity shop, finding the Travel Fox trainers at the car boot, when I'm connected back, I just absolutely love it.
So by hearing this music and talking about it, or watching clips, or playing tracks, anything, it puts me in that place. It takes, if I need just to be reminded of how life can be, how nice it is, how good it can be, how we all can be as people, how we all can get on and dance, love, rave, you know, that I always tap into it. And it's good just to remind people, you know, that it happened and stuff like that. But I also get quite, sometimes I can sort of get quite upset as well. I don't know why that is, but I can get a lot of tear in my eyes sometimes when I talk about it, or remind me of it, and put certain records on, certain feelings about it. It brings a lot of emotion back, time back. A young man myself at the time, you know, it casts my mind right back to it, and in a nice way, you know, but a really emotional way.
I look back at the rave scene as an amazing, wonderful experience that could never be recreated. We changed the society, you know what I mean? We changed, the whole rave movement was something that allowed us to express who we really was.